Madam High Commissioner, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm addressing this Council at a time when the world is still in shock at the horrifying events in Ukraine. So let me first of all address this situation. The invasion of Ukraine by armed forces of the Russian Federation, in blatant violation of international law, is not only an attack on another sovereign and independent nation, it is also an attack against the aspirations of the Ukrainian people to freedom and democracy. We condemn these acts by Russia in the strongest terms and call upon President Putin to immediately stop this senseless war. The Russian military aggression will leave thousands dead, displaced or scarred for life, families torn apart and children traumatized. The historical revisionism, disinformation and the use of military force instead of diplomacy bring back the demons of the past, which we had thought to have left behind. In this dark hour, I wish to once again express Austria's full solidarity with Ukraine, the Ukrainian government and the people of Ukraine. This is why Austria fully supports the holding of an urgent debate of the Human Rights Council this week and the adoption of a resolution on this matter. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in these challenging times, we have to prove time and again that our joint commitment to the universality of human rights and the rule of law is at the top of our priorities. They are the fundamental pillars of any open and free society. Next year will mark the 30th anniversary of the Vienna Conference on Human Rights. 30 years on, human rights and the rule of law are experiencing significant challenges. Let me be clear, no crisis should prevent us from standing up and speaking clearly out for human rights. Austria has always been and always will be a strong supporter of the international human rights system. Together we need to stand up against any attempts to undermine our open and free societies. Alice, we have to acknowledge that the humanitarian situation in many places, such as Belarus, Syria, Yemen, Ethiopia, Myanmar, Nicaragua, and many others, is still alarming and requires our full attention. However, in doing so, we have to ensure that the Council addresses country situations in a holistic manner. Singling out or focusing on one country through a special agenda item, whereas neglecting human rights abuses in others, negatively impacts the Council as a whole and should be a matter of the past. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this year we mark the 30th anniversary of the Declaration on the Rights of Persons Belonging to Minorities. And I am glad that during the current Council session, Austria will present a resolution focusing on minorities in conflict situations. We count on your support for this resolution. To adequately safeguard the rights of us all, we must also protect those who uncover and denounce violations and infringements: journalists, civil society, and human rights defenders. The number of reporters jailed for the work hit a new global record, and in the past 12 months alone, 46 journalists were killed in connection with their work. 10 years ago, we adopted the UN Plan of Action on the Safety of Journalists. Today, we have to make sure that this action plan remains the blueprint for our efforts to prevent, protect, and prosecute crimes against journalists and free media, also over the next decade. Therefore, Austria is proud to host, in cooperation with the UN Human Rights Office and UNESCO, a high-level conference in Vienna coming November, with the aim to renew and reinvigorate this action plan. Austria also continues to place women's rights and gender equality at the center of its foreign policy. Let me express my deep regret and concern about recent developments, especially, but not limited to Afghanistan, where hard-won gains and achievements for women's rights are under threat. We will therefore continue, not least through our membership in the Commission on the Status of Women, to work intensively to strengthen the rights of women and girls. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me be very clear. The universal character of human rights is not subject to negotiations. Attempts to challenge it are unacceptable. We can only move forward on our common commitment to human rights if we return to the spirit of Vienna, where all human rights are placed on an equal footing. The Secretary General has presented an ambitious pathway to achieve this goal with his call to action for human rights. We will continue to fully support the Secretary General in these efforts. In this context, digital technologies are a new test for all of us. We have to ensure a human rights-based approach to new technologies, guaranteeing that existing international legal norms are fully implemented and effective in all spheres of life. Whether something takes place offline or online should not make any difference as far as human rights are concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, Austria is proud to have served as a member of this Council for the last 3 years, and we will continue to be a steadfast ally in all international efforts to protect human rights. Thank you very much.